Over the last 9 years, I've freelanced marketing services for clients of all different sizes. And I've found that there is one thing that's holding freelancers like you and me back from scaling, and that is client collaboration. As service providers, there's always going to be information that we need from our clients in order to keep things moving forward. And let's face it, some clients are just better at providing us with what we need without us having to chase them around. But unless you create and enforce client collaboration systems or processes, all of this can become a great big waste of time. In this video, I'm going to show you how to systemize 4 areas of client collaboration. And you might be shocked when you realize how much time you're wasting without even realizing it. At this point, I've been using ClickUp all day, every day for over 800 days. So believe me when I say that these systems are tried, tested, and true. I hope you like this video. If you haven't seen the other videos in this series, I highly recommend that you go back and watch all of those. They will together make up the complete client work system, so it's definitely worth giving all of them a watch. All right, and without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the first kind of client collaboration you can systemize are client requests. Sometimes we have to wait for a client to request something before we start to work on it. This is typically done via a brief outlining all of the information that we need to do that type of work. Some examples of this could be ad campaigns, emails, blog posts, really anything that is done ad hoc. Now, your precious time can be wasted here in a few different ways. The first is when a client sends you this information via email or message, you then have to take that information and turn it into a task in your own project management system. And sometimes the client might miss some types of information, causing you to have to go back and ask them follow-up questions. ClickUp can be used to systemize all of this and recoup all of the lost time that we just talked about. And that's by using ClickUp's forms. Now, in this case, the ClickUp form is essentially just replacing a brief. And by using custom fields that are required for the client to fill in, we ensure we get all the required information before starting the work. The other cool part about forms is that you can include a little note about how long your process takes, just to reinforce with the client what kind of timelines they can expect. Now, we start to recoup some of that project management time that we talked about by setting our form up and having it automatically create a task each time somebody submits a form, using a task template. Now let's take, for example, this ad campaign form. When a form is completed, an ad campaign task template is applied to it, and all of the information that is required to complete that work is included. We're talking about the subtasks or the steps that you need to take, as well as all the info that the client provided inside of their submission. And you can even include a doc that's created as a template, so you can work inside of a doc if you prefer that. But for simpler tasks, you can just customize the task description to include all of the information that you need. So we've already taken away lost time from chasing the client around for missing information, and the project basically planned itself. So it's just waiting for you to get started. Now, the second type of client collaboration to systemize is client feedback. Typically, when we finish something, we need the client to review it before the next step can happen. Now, this can look many different ways, but some examples are comments in Google Docs or Sheets, email threads, Slack messages, or even third-party tool comments. Now, most of these forms of input can be difficult, if not impossible, to find later on without having to hunt through your inbox or track down resolved comments. You could basically customize ClickUp to gather feedback from your clients however you choose. But for instances where you're using tasks as the deliverable, so for example, if each task represents an individual social post or social ad or email, then I like to use the comments section for client feedback. And the reason for this is if a client leaves a comment and you have something that you want to say back to it, it opens up the opportunity to have a dialogue within that thread. Now, the best part about this is it becomes super easy to refer back to that information again in the future because it will be logged inside of this ClickUp task forever and always. The third kind of client collaboration to systemize is client approvals. After the client provides their feedback, oftentimes we need a final approval on the changes we've made. Or if during the feedback round there is no feedback, they can indicate that this one is good to go as is. Again, this is one of those things that can look so different for every type of service or freelancer, but But some examples of final approvals are that they can happen over email, messages, or even within third-party tools. Now, in my opinion, this invites a bunch of confusion to the party when you're asking for approval on individual items. If a client's trying to give you approval over email, they may not be specifying which individual items are approved versus have revisions, and all of that can get really messy. Also, it's more likely for these type of approvals to be overlooked when they get buried in the inbox, or if they send a message when we're busy and we forget. Lots of opportunities for things to go wrong. Now, ClickUp's custom fields are amazing for this. So you can create a client approvals view with a simple approval status that they can apply as they work through each item that you need their approval on. That makes it easy for them to provide approvals on some and request revisions on others. Now, the fourth and final type of client collaboration to systemize are client inputs. Sometimes we need our clients to make us aware of certain info so that we have all the info to do a good job. For example, a client might provide monthly or quarterly campaign goals. They might let you know which blogs are upcoming. They might be sharing important dates or topic ideas for social calendars. Again, this is the type of information that is likely shared via email or message, but you may need to remind them. Any information they share, you need to store somewhere or hunt for it again later down the line. This is where ClickUp comes to the rescue yet again with your client tasks list. For any information the client needs to provide to you on a recurring basis, you can set up a recurring task for this and add the clients to your ClickUp workspace as a guest. Inside of the task, you can use a doc and customize it to include headers so that the client has something to fill out. If it's a simpler request, you could just create a task template with a description with headers if that makes more sense. But if the client's just sharing a doc with you, you may not need to include anything except for the instructions to provide it to you. It can be simple or complex, really however you need it to function. Now, this might not seem like it, but this is going to save you so much time of having to chase down clients and ask them for information, and it makes the client accountable by having them have tasks inside of your systems as well. Now, to recap, collaborating with clients is a necessary part of being a freelancer, but without boundaries and processes in place, it can be the very thing that's standing between you and growth. To scale a service-based business like marketing freelancing, you need to create systems that save you time. And there are 4 types of client collaboration that you can systemize in ClickUp. 1, client requests can be streamlined in ClickUp using forms so the client understands the timelines, provides you with everything you need right from the beginning, and the project basically plans itself, so all you have to do is just get started. 2, client feedback using individual tasks as individual deliverables, and using the comments field for input, you can easily facilitate dialogue with the client and reference all that information again in the future. 3, client approvals using a view just for your clients with a simple approval status so it's clear where each item is in the process. And 4, client input using a client task list and recurring tasks for info that you require repeatedly that you can reference again in the future. Imagine how much more efficiently you could manage clients, how much more time you would have to take on new clients, or to finally work on those passion projects that you've been wanting to get started. In the next video in this series, I'm diving into every freelancer's favorite part of client work, reporting and analytics. Now go watch the rest of the videos in this series. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week.
Jesus.